Welcome to the Get Emergent podcast. This is the space where we discuss leadership, team, and organizational topics and better practices. We like to provide concepts and ideas that you can turn into pragmatic experiments to help you develop your higher potential in your work and in your leadership. I'm Bill Berthel.
And I'm Ralph Simone.
Ralph, today's topic is this idea of communal time. What do we mean by communal time?
Well, it's just time that we spend together. It's actually a concept that we're all familiar with, and I got to admit, I wasn't a big fan of it when I first became exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
As you may know, I was a production buyer for Carrier air conditioning in the late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
And some of my suppliers were European suppliers, and it used to frustrate the heck out of me that they were on holiday, all of them, for the month of August.
Right.
But that's an example of communal time. And the concept came up, and I'm starting to rethink it a little bit through a different lens when I was rereading the book 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. But he talks about that if we treat time as a commodity to hoard and actually not share with others, then we're really not getting the benefit out of it. And in fact, having large amounts of time, but no opportunity to use it collaboratively isn't just useless, but sometimes actively unpleasant. And so he makes the case for this communal time. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So I thought we'd talk about it and perhaps the applications for both organizations, teams, and families as we manage our lives.
Yeah, this is a really interesting topic. And I feel like we may have gotten even further and further away from communal time with remote working and hybrid situations. And so what does it mean to have time together now in the workplace or in our teams?
Well, I think there's no question that one of the reasons given that we've gotten farther away is that we constantly feel connected. Therefore, we want to spend as much time separated from as we can. But, there's a book, Bowling Alone, right? Bowling leagues used to be pervasive. They're less popular now. But if you remember, and maybe you're not quite old enough to remember, but when I was growing up as a kid, most stores were not open on Sundays. It was called the Blue Law. And that was one of the reasons was the family was intended to spend communal time together.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Time with less distractions. But now everything is open all the time. And so it becomes very isolated. And I think that we're kind of a little bit out of sync because we're not looking at time together as something to share. We're looking at it as more of something to hoard and protect. Kind of a silly example, but we've seen this. We'll do team building sessions,
right,
for small teams. And often everyone will drive separately to the event. And it doesn't even occur to them. In fact, I've actually brought it up. I said, did you guys come together? And I think I've even gotten a response, well, why would we do that?
Right.
And so just that simple example that we kind of hoard our independence in our time in such a way that we do it separately rather than together. So I think driving together, in fact, we've tried to, and I don't think we've been as successful as we'd like, we've talked about when we do a strategic planning session for our organization. And if we do it off-site, we ought to ride together.
Absolutely.
Use that time, that communal time, to strengthen our relationships and to have these accidental collisions in conversation.
Yeah. No, I think those accidental collisions in conversation, just that time spent together, I think of it as dwell time, right? Even if you're not, quote unquote, doing something, there is an effect of being together, whether that's commuting, whether that's sharing a meal. I mean, invariably conversation breaks out, but there can be, eating together or mealtime together. This doesn't have to be big examples like vacationing together, but there is something about taking time off away from the business together.
Yes. Well, I think the research would say it's the connection between the synchronization and life satisfaction. So when you synchronize these things, it actually pays off in life satisfaction. The study that was done in Sweden was around this people taking vacation at the same time.
Right.
So the more Swedes who were off work simultaneously, the happier people got. They derive their psychological benefits not merely from vacation time, but from having the same vacation time as other people.
Right, right. Really makes sense that I remember so many surveys and research pieces done around why people don't take PTO is they're really concerned what they're missing back at the office while others are working, right? So this would,
Yeah.
I know not all offices, not all work types can necessarily shut down because they might have an essential service they're providing to the community or their customers. And some of that might be perceived and not real as well. I get that. But yeah, imagine everybody not being there. That anxiety of what am I missing goes away. I can
Well,
really focus my time off.
I'm a little humbled by this because, we teach around energy management and
Yeah.
time management and weekly planning and doing it as a team and doing it as an entity. My wife and I have been unable to find 4 days in our schedule in the month of April where we can go down to Florida together. So, this communal time gets eaten up by all of these other commitments we make to other things and other people. You mentioned, I want to go back to it, the eating together. There's a lot of studies on this, but breaking bread together is as much about relationship building
Mhm.
as it is around nourishment.
Absolutely.
And that's the other finding we've had where we've brought in groups together around training where we'll have lunch provided at the end. In a recent one, somebody commented, we've been together over a year and we have either never or only once broken bread together as a team. And again, I think one of the things that whether we go to communal time where you're vacationing with the people you work with, not necessarily suggesting that, but what are the small steps that organizations can take in communal time to drive engagement, to improve their culture, and to improve the performance of their organization? I think there's lots of upside to this concept.
Absolutely. Just thinking about it and focusing on it, it seems like there are things we could do that would not be a heavy lift to start moving in this direction.
I think so. I mean, you probably have a couple in mind. Like, what would be a few that you have in mind that would not be a heavy lift?
I am thinking about meals together. What if there were, it doesn't have to be every meal, but if there's a team or a work group that could adjust their schedules to make sure that they occasionally get together and share a lunch break? I don't know. I mean, that seems doable.
Well, in fact, Bill, what is the pervasive pattern that we bump up against with many people around taking lunch?
Oh, right. They're just eating at their desk or they're working a working lunch, right? A working
Yeah.
lunch. Just
Or
a,
could we get out earlier if we work through lunch or skip
yeah.
lunch? And so I think what we're doing is we're missing the benefits of that community coming together. Because we're seeing time as a commodity to be hoarded, to be used, to be time well spent. And oftentimes, time well spent is only when we are productive, right? From a very traditional standpoint, that we're making things, right? There's some output associated with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would
Um,
be another example?
Probably a heavier lift, but I wonder how organizations can create purposeful events that get people socializing and bouncing off of each other. You know, what I am thinking about one specific example. I won't name the client because I'm amazed they do this when the weather's really nice right here in downtown Syracuse. They have a happy hour on the rooftop of their building. You know, it's kind of a bring your own beer kind of thing, bring your own beverage kind of thing,
Okay.
but they get almost 100% turnout.
Wow.
So
Wow.
like people want this, right? And it's somewhat organically, it's just known that like I'm gonna make this up every third Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, gather. Folks just might stop in for 15 minutes. Others might stay for a couple hours. Lower social pressure.
Great example. And I think what happens when we convene that way is it levels the playing field for connection. People start to talk to people as other people. The organizational titles and the power goes away. I was reminded with that example, we were down in Miami and we were doing a 2 or 3 day training. And this is a number of years ago. And I was actually first put out by it because it was going to interfere with the time of the training, but they
Oh, with the
said
training.
they had a ritual every 3 o'clock where they have Cuban coffee
Oh, wow. Yeah.
and everybody joins the break room.
Mhm.
And it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to get all this stuff brewed up and made and distributed.
It's not a K cup.
No, but watching it
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
watching the interaction slightly softened my initial reaction. But I think it's this initial resistance to wasting time. And I think the communal time is actually creating the connection and it's balancing relating with achieving. It's creating these opportunities for accidental collisions. And it's really creating a sense of unity,
Mm.
which makes an organization, a family, a team stronger.
And stronger isn't just those social connections. This is stronger as a business. What I'm hearing is there's an organizational and a human case for this.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I'm convinced that even in our small organization, that I think we do okay with this. We have a lot of upside opportunity to
Mhm.
create more communal time. We've been talking about not going on vacations together, but being off at the same time. And, there's a paradigm that says, oh, we need coverage,
Right.
right? But then there's a paradigm of, you brought this up earlier, that, having great relief in knowing we're all off together.
Yeah,
And so I think it requires some level of rethinking, but really seeing the benefit of spending this time together, being able to go away or have free time off the same as your friends and family do.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think about it in the way that, and not to be too philosophical, but I think this was the structure of federal holidays, or not to be too religious, a Sabbath on a specific day,
Sure.
just to bring those communities together.
Absolutely. And I think that there is some value in kind of thinking about which ones or which things would we want to bring to our organization as communal time that would strengthen the connectivity among our people. So I think it's really something to think about. I find myself not landing on an answer, but
Mm,
really rethinking something that my initial reaction some 40 years ago was, what a massive inconvenience that everybody's on holiday. And just looking at it through this lens of the benefit of communal time together, I see an opportunity for not only myself, but for our organizations and the organizations we serve.
absolutely. Ralph, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for listening, everyone. You can listen to a new podcast 2 times every month here at Get Emergent or wherever you listen to your podcasts. This is where we bring you leadership topics with better practices that you can apply directly to your work and your leadership. Thank you.